Ooh, sit back here. Gotta get the positioning right. Hello, everyone. DSP here, and welcome. Welcome very much to the very first episode of Ask the King from my new home in Washington State. Now, I want to apologize in advance if anything sounds off, if it looks, the camera looks weird. I'm wearing shorts. Woohoo! Because this is the very first episode that I'm doing here in Washington, and things are going to change. In fact, this coming Sunday, my love seat is arriving. So as of this Sunday, I won't even be sitting on this anymore. I'll have a nice love seat that I can adjust the camera better and know permanently what it's going to look like, okay? So, welcome to Ask the King episode 44. Today is July 17th, 2014. And if you can believe it, someone says go 3 inches to the right. This would be the right. Not centered. How's that? It doesn't matter. Alright, anyway, thanks for being here. If you can believe it, I've been here for a month. And I know a lot of people might be like, what? Yeah, if you can believe it, I've actually lived in Washington State for about a month now. We actually moved technically, I think it was June. Let me think. Leanna arrived in Connecticut on the 19th. The movers came on the 21st, so it was June 23rd. Today's the 17th, so in a few days I'll have been here for a month already. I know that's kind of like, whoa, it blows your mind. Like, a month? Really? It's been that long? And I know I can't believe it either, but yeah, it's actually been that long. A few of those weeks, I didn't have a chance to do anything because I didn't have our equipment. Furniture wasn't here. So even though we've been here a month, really, I've only been up and running for less than 2 weeks. And, excuse me. So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I just want to say this as well. Keep in mind that it's been 2 months since I did an episode of Ask the King. The last one I did was the month of May, and I was hoping that my move would go fast enough that we would be here in Washington and I'd be able to do one by the end of June. That definitely did not happen. Now we're finally here. We've got the new equipment. We've got everything going, and so Ask the King gets off full steam ahead. Thank you to anyone who submitted questions. If you're wondering, gee, how do I get my questions answered? What is this? Ask the King is a series where I answer your fan questions, and you can submit them in multiple ways. On the website, thekingofhate.com, there's always a thread on there for the next episode of Ask the King. Or the day of, which was this afternoon, I took questions on Twitter and Facebook, okay? Which is @TheyCallMeDSP, or on Facebook, it's just They Call Me DSP. So, multiple methods. I selected what I felt were the best questions that I could answer the best. I'm actually going to pull my laptop here a little bit closer so I can actually see the questions a little better. And then we're going to get started. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to answer some common questions which lots of people basically asked. Okay, questions that a lot of people kind of ask the same thing. And I basically want to answer them collectively. So the first question that was on everyone's mind is, Phil, what happened to Transformers, what is it called, Rise of the Dark Spark? This was a game that came out that week when you moved. You said you were going to be playing it. You're a fan of Transformers. You played all the previous Transformers games, but you never played the playthrough. So what happened? What gives? Why didn't you play it? And are you going to be playing it? And the honest answer here is no, I'm not going to be playing it, because it's very simple. Out of all the games that came out during those 2 weeks when I was moving and I didn't have my equipment, literally Transformers got critically panned. Everyone said this game is shit. I'm not just talking mainstream. Anyone who played it kind of contacted me and said, Phil, don't get Transformers. It's horrible. It's nowhere near as good as the ones that were made by High Moon Studios a few years back. You are wasting your time and money. Don't do it. So I actually purchased the game but never played it, and I never opened the game. And as of 2 days ago, I finally put my gaming calendar up. And I know I haven't done a video of it yet because I haven't had a chance to update it yet. I am going to do that shortly. And once I update my gaming calendar, I'm going to let everyone know exactly what I'll be playing. I'm also going to go to GameStop, reserve all those games, and I'm going to return Transformers and use that money to put in all those reserves. So Transformers, unfortunately, not going to happen because it's a horrible game, apparently. And I'm not going to waste my time. I'd rather do anything else than play a horrible game. Okay. Second question that everyone's been asking me, Phil, now that you live in Washington and you've been here for a month and you're settling in, are you going to set up a P.O. box? Because you used to have a P.O. box in Connecticut. People used to be able to send you stuff like fan art and letters and different things. Will you ever do that again? And my answer to that is there is a strong possibility that I will. The actual UPS store, if you can believe it, is a block away. So unlike Connecticut, where everything was far and I had to go out of my way to get to stuff, the UPS store is a block away, so I could easily purchase a P.O. box there and have people mail stuff there if they want it. However, there's a very strong chance that it may be expensive. I'll tell you right now, when I had the P.O. box with the post office in Connecticut, it was like $500 a year. I shit you not. It was incredibly expensive for no reason. But the difference is, with UPS, you actually get service. Like, they'll email you when something shows up. So I'll know when I have a package and I need to go pick it up. So I'm weighing and balancing in my head, will I or will I not, okay? And there is a chance that I will do it. And if I do it, I'll let you know what the address is. But at this point, it's no big concern of mine. I'm not, like, super anticipating that I need to get that right away. That's, like, something that maybe by the end of the year I'll think about, not right about now, okay? And another thing that people are asking me that I didn't expect is that people are saying, Phil, now that you're in Washington, you have your office, you have your new PC, are you going to be doing anything with Nintendo 3DS capturing? Because there's a few games coming out soon, including Smash Brothers. Everyone knows Super Smash Brothers, the new one, is coming out for Nintendo 3DS in just a month or two, and then the console version on Wii U doesn't come out till the end of the year. And I didn't expect that question, because I thought that people didn't really care about that, but I guess a lot of people are saying, no, Phil, 3DS capture is actually a new thing now that people are getting into, and this would be the great time to do it, because not a lot of people are doing it. And unlike the fact that in Connecticut, remember, I had a real bootleg gaming setup. I didn't have all my stuff close by. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to do it. I could get my 3DS right here. I could have the capture device coming out of it, going right to the PC right there, and I could sit here and casually play and do commentary. I think it would be viable. So it's something I'm considering. It's not something I'm going to 100% right now say, oh, yes, we're doing it. It's coming right now. Because I don't want to promise you the world. And also, I need to look into, last time I looked into it, there were a lot of issues with the audio. Like, it wasn't easy to rip the audio from the 3DS. So if I could figure out a way to do it without massive editing and stuff, maybe I'll do it. It's something I'm going to be looking into, but I don't want to promise anybody anything right now. Okay? All right. So now let's actually get into the individual questions for this episode. So let me open up the questions here. The way we're going to be doing this, and I'm hoping that we can do it like this now, is right now my laptop's right here, and you can't see it. It's perfectly off camera, but I can go right here, read the question, and then answer it. So I think that'll be like one of the best ways to do this. So, all right, the very first question is from Ono Rub, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And his question is this. He says, Phil, I remember that you were saying that you would have a trip to Vegas with Panda Lee. Will you still be able to do that since you're now using your savings for moving expenses? So, Ono Rub, thanks for the question. And what he's saying is, I had previously, earlier this year and even last year, mentioned that this year for 2014, if Panda Lee and I went on vacation, which we do about 1 to 2 times a year, we wanted to go to Las Vegas because numerous times I have been to Las Vegas, but I've never seen the Strip because I'm such an idiot. I was so into professional fighting games and professional Street Fighter that I didn't leave the venues that I was at to play Street Fighter to go see Vegas. I'm a complete moron because I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I've been there like 4 times. I've never seen the Strip because, duh, I'm a dummy. So I wanted to go to Vegas. It is a touristy place. There's lots of shows, gambling, drinks, food, lots of fun stuff to do in Las Vegas. But then, of course, the move happened. What ended up happening was earlier this year, I kind of said I'm paying way too much in taxes, and I'm at a point in my life where I am capable of moving out of the state of Connecticut, which is way too effing expensive, and I see no reason to continue to live there. And why would I spend my money on other things when I can put all this time and effort into the move? And I decided that this year we were going to move. And so here we are. We're in Washington, brand new place, early stages, but still, you know, it's nice, brand new place. And unfortunately, I'll say that we don't have the money. We do not have the money to go on any kind of vacations or do any kind of major stuff. As I explained before the move, this move was going to tap me out financially, and what it's done is basically put me in a lot of debt. I financed out everything, this that you see right here, this sectional, the table that my laptop's sitting on, my new PC, all the furniture for the house has all been financed, which means that I will pay it off gradually over the course of a year, and as long as I pay it off by next year, I don't have to pay any interest on it. But what that means is I really, literally am stretched so thin that I don't have any expendable income. All my money that I'm making is going to have to be going towards paying off all the stuff that I got for the house. So I really know at this point it would be incredibly irresponsible for me to try to go on a vacation and go rack up my cards. And in fact, I had the conversation with Leanna already, and we basically decided there will be no vacation this year. If anything, like my parents or some of her family may visit us here in Washington later on in the year, and we're going to focus on getting the place set up, on me getting my business set up properly and consistently doing high quality streaming and gameplay and, you know, making consistent income. Because right now, I'll be honest, it's very wonky. I'm still working the bugs out. We still have issues that we're trying to work out with the new equipment and everything. And there's not a lot going on right now with gaming. So it's very slow. Once I get back into the swing of things and everything's consistent and, you know, everything's back to normal, by the end of this year, then maybe we'll start planning for next year. And, you know, it does kind of stink, and Leanna was a little disappointed because this is the year when she hits, you know, she's 21 years old, she can drink and everything, and like, oh, go to Vegas and party up and drink and everything, but it just wouldn't make sense. So we've decided not to do that, and that's going to go on the back burner. We may not even end up doing it as our next vacation. We're already starting to talk about California because we're so close to California now. So we'll see about that as it gets closer, okay? All right, the next question here. This guy says, Phil, I am a studio art major, and I use art and video games as a way to relieve stress. Does making your creative content on YouTube and Twitch serve as your way of relieving stress, or is there something else that you do? And also, before you started making content on YouTube, what was your outlet that you used to have fun and relieve stress? Congrats on the new home and the new memories. And that question is from Crusader. Thank you very much for that question, Crusader. Honest answer to that question is that there's a balance, okay? There's a balance. Sometimes when I'm playing video games, it's incredibly relaxing. It really depends on the game. Sometimes it's like, wow, it's relaxing, it's fun. Sometimes, I'll be honest, it's challenging and it's grueling and it's frustrating. It all depends on what game you're playing. Do I necessarily use video games as my release 100% of the time? No, I do not. A lot of the stuff that I take on while I'm streaming or whatever, it's work. Let's be honest. It's fun, so I'm not complaining, but it's work. I have to make sure the stream's running. I have to make sure that the stuff's capturing. I have to make sure that the game's running. I have to actually be playing and succeeding at the game. There's a lot of factors going into it. It's not as simple as me just plopping down on my couch and playing a game anymore. It has changed, okay? But that's not to say that gaming isn't a release for me. There's a few things that I do, for example, off camera. The Injustice app on my iPad for over a year now has served for a real way for me to kill time and or relieve stress when I'm not streaming. At night, what I usually do, I'll give you an idea. After I go offline, right now, the way it works is that Leanna and I usually do a few things around the house that need to get done, whether it's feeding the hamsters and changing their water or cleaning up a little bit or unpacking a little more because we still got a lot to do in that regard. And then we basically relax, which means we both sit on our couch, our awesome new sectional couch, and we turn on either some television. Maybe we recorded something like, you know, we love Gordon Ramsay and his shows. They're hilarious. So watch some of those. Maybe watch some America's Got Talent. Maybe watch some, right now, recently we've been watching Dexter and Breaking Bad on Blu-ray. I've already seen all of Breaking Bad. She's seen all of Dexter. So we're kind of flipping it and experiencing it with the significant other for the first time. You know what I mean? We've been watching that. Movies. We love movies, so we watch movies all the time on demand and on Blu-ray. That's really our unwinding time, and that's what we've been doing at night after we go off stream. So, yes, gaming is fun, but it's not necessarily my release. My release kind of comes after I go off stream and I go on to watch movies and TV and stuff. Okay? Okay. Next question. This guy was very good because he asked 3 good questions. So I'm actually going to go through all 3 of his questions. His name is Shakarian, okay? The first question, he says, Phil, do you feel that voice acting in video games nowadays is improving or getting worse? Do you think that companies should stick to the tried, hold on, move to the right here, the tried and tested method of hiring well-known voice actors, or should they bring in more lesser-known but equally promising voice actors? First of all, absolutely, video game voice acting is getting better. Any AAA title that you buy today, you're going to hear pretty much Hollywood-level voice acting, all right? And it's kind of funny that he mentions, gee, what do I think about their selections? Because some games have been using real Hollywood actors to do the voices. Other games have been using very common people like, let's face it, Nolan North, Troy Baker, Jennifer Hale. These are people that get selected all the time to do voices for popular AAA video games. But what do I think about that? And the answer, quite honestly, is I do think that unfortunately, there are a few people that, because their voices are so iconic, right? That's why they got selected for the role, but at the same time, when they do too much work, it takes away from the work. So I'll give you a perfect example. Troy Baker, in 1 year, was one of the main characters of BioShock Infinite, one of the main characters of The Last of Us, and one of the main characters of Batman Arkham Origins, and I'm sure he did more work too, but those are just the 3 big ones that come to mind. Now keep in mind, some of the voice work there, for example, when he did the Joker, that was way different than the other stuff, but it's the same guy, and you can tell when you're playing these games, it sounds like the same dude. If anyone, the worst offender is Nolan North, because in almost every game, he's the same effing voice. At least when he was in The Last of Us last year, he did something different with it. But normally, he's the same voice, and you're the same dude talking in every game. It's like, what is this? So I do agree that there has to be more diversity. There's tons of people out there who I'm sure want to get into the voice acting field. You have to give them a chance. Stop just giving the roles to the same people because they're the notable person. And by the way, I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I am in no way giving any kind of a criticism to the work of people like Nolan North, Jennifer Hale, or Troy Baker. They're really good at what they do, but it would be the same as if you went into the movies and 5 movies this year starred Al Pacino. You know what I mean? Like, 5 fucking Al Pacino movies in a year? No, that's too much. That's overload, and you get tired of the person, and that's kind of what I think is happening with certain voice actors. Okay. Second question. Has Japanese anime ever been a part of your life, and what is your opinion on some of the current animes out there that have gained a lot of popularity, like Attack on Titan, blah, 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 blah? Funny that he should ask that, because just the other day, I watched the animated movie Akira, which is Japanese animation, with Leanna on Blu-ray, and my God, does it look good on Blu-ray. They cleaned that movie up. I remember seeing that movie in the 1990s, and it was grainy as fuck, and it was all these... It looks gorgeous on Blu-ray, so I recommend that to anyone who likes Akira or has never even seen it. That's one of the go-to anime movies on Blu-ray. It looks great. Yes, I grew up with anime. When I was in the 1990s, when I was becoming, a young teen, that's when anime hit the United States in a big way, and it became super popular. So you had Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon that kind of came over, and people were like, what the hell? Then you had Ronin Warriors and things like that. And then, of course, later on in the 90s, early 2000s, Inuyasha, and then you had Adult Swim on at night on the Cartoon Network, which they introduced a ton of anime to the mix. So, oh, and also Toonami, too. Toonami was also one of the things that introduced a ton of anime to the mix. So I grew up with Japanese anime. Now, did I become like a huge fan of it? Not necessarily. I watched certain series. I remember a few in particular. Cowboy Bebop was huge at the time. Trigun I saw all of. Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood I'm still a fan of, and I've still never finished watching Brotherhood. I always get to the end and I never watch like the final set, the final... whatever, it's 13 episodes or whatever. I get lost in them and I get distracted. I haven't seen the end of the series yet. But I like them very much, but I'm not like a huge fan. What do they call that? An otaku? Someone who's like, oh, I talk about is anime and I love anime and that's all anime. No, I'm not like that. I appreciate it. I like it, but it's not something that I'm like massively focusing on. Okay? Alright, now the third question from this guy. What would you say were your top 5 favorite gaming franchises of all time? I mean, that's insane. I've played so many games at this point. I couldn't even tell it. I mean, obviously Street Fighter, duh. Mario, duh. Zelda, duh. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many that I've played that are iconic. But at the same time, there's other, like Mass Effect in recent years I really, really enjoyed. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is one of my definitive favorite ones. But though, you know, I mean, if you just watch my content, you know what it is that I like. I don't want to sit here and kind of debate it, okay? Alright, the next question. Oh, this is a good one. Do you check your horoscope on a daily basis? If so, is your horoscope always accurate with what you were experiencing in your life at the time? Hold on a second. That question is from Baseball Boy 2036. Now listen, I'm going to be honest with everyone. I am one of the least superstitious people on the planet Earth. I don't believe in fairy tales of this, oh, there's mysticism and people who can read people's minds, and there's a horoscope that can tell your future, and there's a supernatural plane with ghosts and all kinds of, you know, whatever. People can believe what they want, and I'm not going to hate on anyone for what they believe, but I don't believe any of that stuff. I think it's all mumbo jumbo. It's people wanting to believe that there's something more than what is here because for whatever reason they're not satisfied with what is here. I like to think that I'm just going to sit here and enjoy what's here. Stop worrying about some fantasy world of the future and the supernatural when I can enjoy life now. But that's just been my philosophy for the past several years, okay? So anyway, in particular, horoscopes. If you don't know what a horoscope is, it's basically some kind of supposed to be mystical, astronomical reading. We're telling from the stars and the time of the year that you were born that someone could give you your future, right? What? It just makes no effing sense. So because I was born in the month of April, I have a different future than someone who was born in the month of May because the stars align in a certain way and there's a constellation that looks like a crooked dick or something. It doesn't make any sense. But it's funny, though, because if you read horoscopes, they're very, very generic. And so you might read, you're going to meet someone new and it will have an effect on you in a positive way. That's incredibly unspecific. So of course, what people have to do is as soon as they meet someone new, that must have been the person that horoscope talked about, right? So it's funny because they try to be so broad that of course you're going to run into a situation that you can apply to what it says. And that's really why they do that, to make you try to, in your own mind, convince yourself that your horoscope is correct because it's such a general statement. So in particular, no, I don't believe in horoscopes. I don't believe in any of that mumbo jumbo. I've already said in the past that it would be cool if one day I could go out and be like, you've seen these ghost hunters and stuff like that, but doing it actually seriously, because I hate to say it, you watch these shows, right? Ghost adventures, ghost hunters, and all that shit. It's all fake. You could tell that it's all staged. There's someone knocking on a fucking wall. Oh my god, it's a ghost! Oh look, there's a heat reading on the wall, because probably some dude was leaning against the wall 5 seconds before that, and they don't want to show that on camera because they're trying to over-dramatize. I would love to seriously investigate the paranormal, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get into anything like that, but that's kind of like something that I always thought was cool, to investigate the paranormal. Can you actually factually prove anything? Alright, next question. Okay, let's just go ahead. Hey Phil, as I'm maturing as an adult, I see that in most parts of the world, men and women have defined roles and responsibilities. I'm sure you and everyone listening are familiar with such roles and responsibilities. Hold on a second, I'm scrolling, sorry. Let's see. Such as men asking out women on dates and paying the bill for the date, men not hitting women. I kind of disagree there. I don't think men or women should hit each other, duh. Women being the nurturer of a child, people being protective of how others think of their mothers, and etc. Some people in society label these roles as mandatory obligations on one another. For example, every time that a family goes out to eat, my mother expects the males in the family to open the door for her, and that the females should always walk in first. Now, I don't believe either men or women should be required to follow these gender-based roles, because I see nothing wrong with having the opposite sex perform an opposite role. My question is, do you believe that men and women should be required to follow any of these roles? Okay, and that's from Litarial. Now, here's the thing. Absolutely, there are cultural norms in different parts of the world, and it's funny because if you actually look into it, it's very different. There are parts of the world where women are like worship, open the door, hold the hand, you know, everything for her, pull out the chair before she sits down, they go into it first. And there are other parts of the world where, unfortunately, women are treated like property. Like, if you marry a man, you're the property of that man. You have to do exactly what they say. They treat their women like dirt. And it's like, I don't understand, in this planet, how did we get such a different treatment of people? And it's not just women, that's just the example. There's other cultural things in different cultures that are just so different, okay? Now, at the root of everything, there's usually a nugget of a reason of goodness of why it happened. Okay, if you treat women with respect, yeah, probably they're going to be safer because, let's face it, just physically looking at us, in general, men are usually a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger than women, okay? Now, of course, there's many, many exceptions, but just in general, if you look at statistics and science, yes, the men get the testosterone, so they get the bigger muscles, and they're the tough guys that are supposed to do the heavy lifting or protect the family. The mother has more of the nurturing kind of a deal. Yeah, you take care of the kids. That's why the mother gives birth to the children, right? So, really, it was based off of a combination of science, I think, all right, survival instinct, and just society adopting to those differences in the males and females. But then I think what happens is, as happens with everything, people themselves put their own spin on it. So is there a reason why the women should walk into the restaurant before the men? No, not really. I mean, do the women have to sit down first? No, not really. But it's a nice thing. It's a nice gesture. It's a cultural creation of respect for the female. And I understand how it kind of evolved. I seriously don't get how it's so different. Like, how is it that because you lived in an arid desert dry climate on one side of the planet that you have this one cultural norm, and on the other side of the planet it's completely different. It's the opposite, you know? There's even things in different cultures that if I belch right now, some people would say that is disgusting and vile. Some people would say that's funny. And in some cultures, belching after you're eating or drinking something actually signifies that you enjoyed it, and it's actually, oh, well, thank you. You would actually compliment, you take it as a compliment. You would thank the person for belching if you gave them food or drink. So it's just so different worldwide, right? Now, do I feel that everyone has to absolutely do these cultural things? No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, okay? It's up to you to make your own decision whether or not you should follow these cultural kind of different traditions. But the thing is, I don't agree with people who, if you don't follow the tradition that they believe in, now they look down on you. He doesn't hold the door for every woman. Fuck that guy. He's a sexist pig, right? Or on the flip side, you know, this guy treats his wife like property. And in certain cultures, that's actually how they do it. And, you know, is there a right or wrong? No. And I don't want anyone to get that impression I'm trying to say there's a right one and a wrong one. Absolutely not. I think that as long as everyone in a relationship or in a family unit is safe, happy, and healthy, you could do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? You could do whatever you want as your own little norm, cultural norm, and far be it from me to criticize you or say you're doing it wrong, right? But that's the thing. Everyone needs to be safe, happy, and healthy. And that's the problem when some of these cultural things, did you know, and some people may not know, did you know that in China, all right, there was a tradition, I don't know if it's still common now, but there was a tradition, women would mutilate their own feet to get them to be small because it was a cultural thing in China that small feet were attractive. They would literally bash the bones of their fucking foot and crunch them into tiny shoes at a small age so that their feet would grow deformed and tiny. What the fuck is that about? Like, huh? Who on earth ever thought that that was a good... And of course, if you actually do your research in history, it's found that it was actually meant to keep the women down. It was meant so that they would be more sickly and not as healthy as the men and not as mobile as the men, and the men would stay. And that's fucked up, all right? But there's stuff like that all over the world. You make the judgment for yourself whether or not you think that something that your family or your culture does is right. But again, safe, happy, healthy, if the people involved are all those three things, then I think that it's okay to do any of these kind of cultural practices, okay? Alright, so anyway, it's about time for my first break. What we're going to do here is go on break. If you're watching on stream, just please stick around. There's going to be a commercial break that's going to run, and I'll be right back after that with lots more questions. We're not even a third done with the questions. I know. I'm taking forever. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to end this part, and you can just go right to the next part. Okay, everyone? So thanks for watching Ask the King. I'll be back shortly with part 2 of episode 44. Stick around.